It's Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
So this week we've got a short story, but before we get into that, we like to start the show off with what we've been up to this week. So let's start with that, and we'll go ahead and start with you this time because I've been going first the last couple times.
Okay, so for our viewers and those who do not know, I enjoy a bit of Fallout. I've been going through 4 recently, continuing that, and I recently met with a robot named Ada, and I helped her with her problem of going and tracking down someone who killed a bunch of her friends. Fuck the Mechanist boss fight. Because as it turns out, how that fight works is it's basically set in a factory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that factory, if you decide, oh, I'm going to shoot one of these robots before they drop down and are deployed, that can cause the game to glitch out where it just keeps going forever. So I got stuck there for about an hour until I realized nothing's happening. So I went and looked it up, and I just reloaded a previous.
So you essentially soft locked yourself for a bit.
I accidentally soft locked myself for a bit. I found a way out. I just had to redo the boss fight.
Yeah.
And then had a discussion with Ada, like, look, as it turns out, Robo-Brains may not be, one, the most, unethical of the robots in Fallout, and also, two...
You mean the most ethical, not the most unethical, or...
In terms of creation and, how they can... it was not a good idea to make Robo-Brains.
So it would be the most unethical. You said it wouldn't be the most unethical. It would be the most unethical. Double negatives.
Yeah, fucking English. Beautiful language. Because as it turns out, when you use the human brain to support a bunch of wires, things get fucky.
Yeah.
And so I was like, sorry, Mrs. Mechanist, you kind of fucked it up.
Hi,
Keontae. How you doing, man?
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for popping in.
Yeah. I killed a bunch of robots.
Well, that's not surprising, though, for our audience.
It's... Look, they were out there hurting people. They had to go, okay?
It's not the only thing that, you got into fights with recently that... Yeah, there was the time you were a bunch of robots. That's on the channel.
Yeah.
Because, he was a scientist who controlled his robots from his little pod. And eventually they found him in his pod after some stuff. But he was like, I'll still hang out as the robots for a bit. That was our Edge of the Empire campaign. Wow, that was forever ago, too. Because that was when I was still putting the year next to the name of videos. And so 2015 for Edge of the Empire is when we started.
I've known y'all for a long time. I also do remember that towards the end of that game, didn't someone accidentally make a planet killer and set it off?
I don't remember about Planet Killer, but I know that there was some family drama because we found out that Toki was Amala's dad, and I think Amala killed... I think, if I remember correctly, we ended the season with Amala killing Toki.
I didn't have any involvement with that.
No, that was before you started... Well, yeah, that was still before you started playing our games, because around that time was when we started Knights 1. We started Knights 1 in the middle of Edge of the Empire going on, and then Knights of the Old Republic Season 1 continued after Edge of the Empire ended. And we wanted to go back to Edge of the Empire, but we just never scheduled, a time to go back to it, because it was going to become Age of Rebellion, because we were going to do the Age of Rebellion stuff, because I got those books as well. And we were going to continue doing Edge of the Empire adventures, but it would be part of the Age of Rebellion season. because we were going to start doing the Age of Rebellions content.
Yeah.
And that was also going to be an interesting season because now the party had officially started working as a mercenary group. Like, they were officially a mercenary group at that point. And so they were going to start working for the Empire. But we also had rebel spies within that within that mercenary crew. So they were going to be reporting to the rebellion what was going on. Oh, it was going to get... It's been so long. I don't know if we could go back to it, but... There's too many games I want to do for Star Wars. There's too many that I have plans for. I just can't get around to. And I'm already currently running 2 D&D games. So I don't think we can I don't think right now we can fit a Star Wars game. I know that's the big question right now is when's the next...
John wants to know.
John wants to...
I can wait.
Well, but yeah. Yeah, well, thank you. Unfortunately, like, my schedule is awful right now. And I'm not only am I running 2 games, I'm in 2 games. So,
oh man,
my schedule is... Yeah, it got messy near the end, and I think that's part of it, is we just had so much, like, that we wanted to do for Season 2 that we were just also burnt out on the idea of doing Season 2, and I was running nights at the time, and that was kind of doing well, and I knew that was going to be a long-term campaign.
It's hard to run 2 games.
Unless we're doing what I'm doing right now,
yeah.
But that's specifically long-term stories, art stuff.
Our friend is like me, and he keeps up with the character sheets as much as he can.
Yeah.
Like, I have photos of, like, sips and pants.
But I've been working behind the scenes on getting some art done for the Acquisitions game.
Yeah, you were showing it to me earlier.
Because I've been wanting to get actual art done for a while for it, but mostly it's been me pulling stuff off the internet and doing that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I've been paying somebody to do official art for us. I've gotten 4 new... Let me see, hold on. 3 or 4 new characters designed. And then... I want to say 4, because I think there was one I didn't show you. But I've gotten new character designs for... Oh, yeah, I did show you this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have 4 new character designs that I commissioned through Fiverr. And with the same person, so that way it's a similar art style. And they're really great to work with. I've had a great experience with. I have never had a bad experience with Fiverr as a customer. I have always had really good experiences of finding the right artist to do something. And the main reason I don't ask my friends, I have so many artist friends, but they're also always busy, and I feel bad about being like, hey, can you do this for me? Because they're already, like, doing their own projects as well.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to do that. And so, like you'll be in the Discord, if you're in the Discord, and you'll see, like, I categorize friends that I know that are also artists, and they have, like, the animation or artist tag, and it's like, why are you not talking to them? Because they're busy with, like, 5 other projects of their own, because everybody's doing their own stuff, and I love it, because it's such a great community, but also everybody's just doing their own work.
We're all adults with our own things going on.
Yeah. No, I don't know what that is. Never heard of it. But thanks for popping in. Where was I? I lost track.
Explaining, like...
Oh.
Long and short of it is, we're all busy, we're all adults. We all have, like, other matters to attend to.
Yeah, and so...
it is fun to hang out when we get the chance, but we also understand, like, life is a busy thing, and it never stops.
Yeah, and so, at least with, as far as going back to the art and what I plan to do in the future, we just finished up an arc for Grim Hollow last night, which that video is edited. I just have to post it for the Patreon.
Boon's just out there. God. I'm glad for the level up, I'll say that.
Yeah, y'all leveled up, yeah.
I'm like, my internal thing was like, I hope we level up after this, because this was a lot.
And so, yeah, so y'all leveled up. Y'all are level 6 now.
Yeah.
Y'all are on your way to some character development stuff that I don't want to give away, so that way people have a reason to check out the episode when it's posted. Y'all started that journey, because y'all did some stuff faster than I thought y'all would.
Yeah.
So y'all started that journey. Ran into something I have been planning since the beginning of Grim Hollow. But hadn't gotten the chance to find a way to get it in there until now. I'm excited. I think this last episode was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Very much similar to you guys fighting one thing 2 sessions ago. Y'all fought something this session, or not 2 sessions, the previous session. Y'all fought something the previous session that was ridiculous, and this time y'all also fought something ridiculous, but also actually a threat, unlike the first thing.
Yeah. The funny bit about Grim Hollow is, like, while it is like, oh, this is like a dark setting,
yeah, it's supposed to be our Grimdark campaign.
The problem is the party's a bunch of goofballs.
Yeah. And so, like, humor slips in still, and I think that's fine, though, because, like, I think at the end of the day, it is still a Grimdark campaign, and there is still a lot of stuff going on. Like, I think we had some really good character development moment after a battle. I think there was a really good character development moment. So there's a lot going on in that game, and so a lot of reasons to check it out. So that's basically what we've been up to this week. So let's kind of jump in, I guess, because there's not it's a shorter episode today because we're just there's no news to talk about. So really, we're just going to jump into the short story and find out what happened to our friends, the Adrens.
Yeah.
This is a spoiler warning.
Yep.
In a way, this is both a spoiler warning for that short story, and even though we already did the episode at the end of last season, it is slightly an episode. It is slight spoilers for Eye of Darkness, because it takes place during the end part of Eye of Darkness. Because that would explain why a certain thing that we're going to get into happens. Because I read that scene and I was like, oh, that's when this is happening. So spoiler warning is now. So now it's now in effect. So now we can talk about it. The expansion of the Occlusion Zone.
Yep. Stormwall got a lot bigger.
Yeah, because they're like, huh, how are we inside the wall now?
Yep. Like, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Because last we checked, we were outside and on the edge. How are there now scav droids attacking us?
Oh, I know when this takes place now. I was confused about that as well. I forgot.
I picked up pretty quick once I realized, oh, they're in the zone, and I was like, because they say they're like, oh, somehow it expanded, and I'm like, oh, this takes place during the end of Eye of Darkness when Markion gets pissed and expands the.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I remember now.
So yeah, things are not great because they end up inside the Occlusion Zone with scav droids attacking them. Because
not a place you want to be.
You definitely don't want to be on the edge of the inside of the Occlusion Zone because, like I said, that's where scav droids attack you because they're trying to prevent you from leaving. Because really, that's the extra precaution. Because you can escape the you could get past the mines in the Occlusion Zone if you like the storm wall is not perfect. It's not a perfect barrier. Yeah. It's a net, but it's got big holes in it, enough for ships to get through, but you have to A, have the right codes for the scav droids to not attack you, and B, you have to go through it in real time, real space. You can't hyperspace through it, because otherwise. So that's where the premise kind of lies, is you have to. And so that's why the scav droids
Yeah.
exist, is
Yeah.
to stop you from being able to real space through it, because you got to be fast and get away
Yeah.
from the scav droids if you, but you can't go too fast because you can't hyperspace.
Oh, the Adrens, the poor bastards.
And so their ship starts to fall apart. They lose some power during the fight, as like Joss has managed to shoot some of them down, but they lose power, and he's like,
Hey.
I need the power back quick so I can shoot more of these. And Pika goes to get the power back on. Unfortunately, hole in the ship, and so things start flying out, including things that are on the wall in front of her that smack her a little bit. And then one big one that, if it smacks her, threatens her and the baby that's in her belly. Because remember, she's pregnant.
Yeah, Joss does something, and Pika goes, "What do you do? What did you do?" And he goes, "Shut the fuck up. Get it working."
Yeah, basically
There's a lot of...
he somehow closes that hole
Yeah.
long enough for her to be able to.
You have 1 minute. Figure it out.
So, I imagine
Basically, a
I
lot
imagine
of
he
that-
basically like reworked some of the power so that way they could like have a little, because you know
Yeah.
how like at least in the big, we see in the bigger ships in Star Wars that holes can quickly be like sealed with like a shield sort of
Yeah.
thing. And so I imagine that's what he like. I imagine some smaller ships have a smaller capability of doing that, but not for a longer time.
Yeah.
And so, like, I imagine he did something like that, and he was just like, okay, I'm moving this power over here that we still have instead of somewhere else that we need it.
Yeah.
And then I can move it back once we've gotten
It's
full
like,
power
that's fine.
restored.
There's a lot of, like, what did you do? Don't worry about it, between the two of them going...
But it's also because I think this speaks volumes to the relationship they have as a husband and wife. They trust each other.
Yeah.
Explicitly. They are in a very healthy marriage. Now, they're not in a very healthy situation.
No.
But they're
The
in a...
situation's bad, but they've got each other.
Yeah, they've got a very healthy marriage, I think. And I think that's why they survive so much of this shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many moments where they should just not still be here with us.
I like these two.
And so, they manage to get out of the situation, shoot down the scav droids, and then we jump ahead, like, we jump 6 months, I believe?
Yeah, like a month
Or
two.
a month. We jump a month.
Yeah.
We jump a month. That's right. Only a month, because, like, she's talking about how, like, now it's, like, the baby is, like,
Yeah.
you can see the belly now. It's, like, more presenting, because when they left, it was still, like, 9 months. They still had
Yeah.
the whole 9 months. But now it's presenting, and so now they're like, great, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do, because having a baby in the occlusion zone, not
It's
ideal.
Probably not a good idea.
It's not ideal. And so they end up having to...
Basically, they're like, kind of weird that ship over there. is
Yeah,
also...
they notice another ship that's kind of drifting,
Yeah,
and so they decide to do a supply run.
after more scav droids, because fuck you, that said Markion.
Well, also because they're staying on the edges, like they have
Yeah.
not moved in too far, because it would just take... Because they looked at the scanners, and basically, like, since they'd have to travel in real space to get to a planet inside the occlusion zone, it's just so far out. And they're just...
They're like, well, the closest planet that's, like, habitable and won't just immediately kill us is Ryloth, and that's gonna take years to get to, so that's not an option. So I guess we're gonna go to this ship and hope that everything works out,
And
because
unfortunately...
if it doesn't, we're fucked.
And unfortunately, the other problem is they don't have the backup of the RDC,
Yeah.
because while at the end of the last issue, they did manage to get the distress call just barely out. That obviously the RDC would not have been able to get there in
Yeah.
time to help, because like basically the occlusion zone wall got expanded like within the Okay.
All right.
But yeah, so like they're basically just trying to survive on this in this region, and I feel like that's going to be the like entirety of the Chronicles from the occlusion zone.
Just them trying to kind of figure it out.
And yeah, because this, similar to last issue, it ends on a cliffhanger. And they're like, to be continued. And so, unlike the other ones...
fucking horror movie bullshit that is going on in this story.
Yeah, because the other Star Wars Insider short stories that they did for each phase, each phase, has been kind of a, here's a story, and, like, here's the next story. And they're somewhat interconnected, usually. Like Starlight Beacon ones were absolutely, like, the Starlight short stories were absolutely, like, there was a narrative there. Whereas I'd say the Tales from the Enlightenment was less like that. They're, like, it was basically just to get us used to the Enlightenment Cantina characters, so that way we knew who these people were when the Battle of Jeddah goes down. Yeah. Whereas this one...
to get you to care when they fucking...
Whereas this one has definitely been a, here's what's going on, and here's a actual narrative that's going to continue every issue.
Yeah.
And kind of just tell us what's going on there. And so...
just... they're like a bunch of dead bodies on this Nihil ship. They're like, some of which are rotted away. It's like, maybe coming here wasn't the best idea.
Oh, okay. So hopefully hopefully this improves how we sound.
Mm-hmm.
I did go ahead and take that advice. Hopefully that did something.
It's like, I don't... Meanwhile, the protocol droid's clanking in the background, making noise.
Yeah, so like...
in this this no-light ship.
Good. Hopefully it's louder and clear as well. Like, cause you said it was clear already, but I hope that me boosting the loudness did not destroy the clearness in the process. But yeah, like, so I really like these short stories, and I feel like the short stories are overlooked because the problem is they come out in a magazine every month or so, and they're not a consistent release either.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is I'm always having to look out for, okay, when did the new Star Wars Insider come out? Because, like, sometimes they'll say a date for when the Insider's going to come out, and then it doesn't quite come out that day, and it's just like...
you lied to me.
And so, like, I'm trying to keep an eye... And, like, right now there's just misinformation on when the next short story is. Because, like, the Insider says, oh, it's going to be the next issue. Like, because we finished the story and it says, oh, next issue, the next part. But I looked up online beforehand, and it shows on Wikipedia, although not always reliable. It's Wikipedia. It's not always reliable, but it says it's in the next 2 issues that we get the next part. So in 2 issues, we get the next part. I'm going to get the next issue anyways, just to keep an eye out, because I like Star Wars Insider anyways. I have always grown up reading the Star Wars Insiders, even before the canon swap. So even during the days of Expanded Universe and Legends, I was reading the Star Wars Insiders. I was not reading them for the short stories back then as much. I was actually reading them for the extra stuff that they talk about behind the scenes, or the trivia, because I do like playing the trivia and just testing my knowledge. It's a fan magazine. It's an official fan magazine, which is how they get away with having official story content. So, like, I really like what it does. And so, like, it also had fun little, like, back then, one of my memories, like, that I immediately go to when I think of classic Star Wars Insider issues is they would do, like, fun little versus things where, like, I know versus is very, like, contention filled.
Yeah.
But, like, they would do it for fun where they'd be like, oh, Maul versus Dooku, with the information that we had at the time. Obviously, information now, that fight could probably go way different than what they put in the Insider back then. And also, it's a fan magazine, so it's what the fans are speculating of, like, this is what we think. And so, yeah, I like it. I like Star Wars Insider, and I'm glad that it's a tradition that is kept going. And now we're getting canon stories that are being... I do like that they are reprinting these stories, because that is something that I've noticed is Starlight, they did the hardcover, for all the Starlight stories. I think they are coming out with one for the Tales from the Enlightenment as well. Tales from Enlightenment, sorry, not from the Enlightenment, because they tried to make it sound like you're being enlightened, not just it's a place. So I'm hoping they continue that tradition, and I wish they would continue doing the ones for the Legend stuff as well, because they were reprinting those as well. Because they were doing some reprints of the older stories as well, because there's also stuff in canon that hasn't been reprinted. And Volume 2, I think, started doing some of the canon reprints along with the Legends of, like, the older stuff. So I would like to see more of that. I do like when that Titan's been doing that, which are the publishers for those books and for the magazine. As far as going back to the narrative, I really like what we're seeing. I love the Adrens. I've loved them since the Starlight story that we got, where we met them, Go Together Part 1. And then, of course, the novels have just increased that love for them. And they're just your normal couple doing their best to get through the galaxy and doing what's right.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. They're just doing what's right. Even if it's at a cost to their, which goes to show, the big Star Wars, I think it's a big thing in Star Wars, and we've talked about it, that anybody can be the hero. We talked about it when we talked about the Revelations comic, when we talked about the High Republic section of that message in that comic is that, hey, you don't have to be a Jedi to do the right thing, to help your community. And I think that still goes a long way in this, with following the Adrens. That is their thing, is they are helping the galaxy even when it's at their own detriment. So,
yeah, I'm gonna be real.
Joss and Pika should have just been on vacation.
Yeah.
They should have been just on the beach waiting for Pika to have that baby. But instead, they're out here in the Occlusion Zone because they knew that the Republic still needed their help. And they just couldn't say no. Well, Pika couldn't, which is Joss could have, but they once again, they have such a good marriage that they stand together on these type of things.
All right.
Because he knows she's right. He's like, I don't want to do this, but you're right. We should do this. Because if we don't, who else will?
Yeah.
And so they go to scavenge the ship. And they find, this is another throwback to some EU stuff that we've been getting, slowly fed to us. Because, I know people got really excited when Andor mentioned it. But we get some Rakatan. We get a Rakata shout out. Which is, of course, Knights of the Old Republic and, Dawn of the Jedi stuff. So, which makes sense when we factor in that Dawn of the Jedi is becoming a movie.
I'm concerned.
About the Rakata, or?
About the Rakata.
I mean, they don't exist. They're extinct by this point, generally speaking.
Just because
unless canon decides another route for it, because I am speaking just from Legends experience. In Legends, anyways, they are long gone by now. But canon could change that.
My concern is that they left some dangerous thing behind. Which I think is what the story implies.
And yeah, in Knights of the Republic, we know at least that they are the creators of the Starforge, so the big super weapon of that game. Which is,
I just meant an artifact on this.
Yeah, but in the ship, we learned that. The Rakata have a lot of artifact stuff and throwaway stuff that we see even in canon. So Andor mentions the crystal, the Rakatan stuff there, and so I think they're slowly weaving that in. Whether or not they're gonna use it for Dawn of the Jedi content,
who knows?
Yeah, because I think they're gonna go. They'll probably really go a different route with Dawn of the Jedi, because while I like the comics and I like the novel, I know of a lot of people who find it very divisive. Including somebody in the chat. um, but I like the stuff, and I think it can be divisive though, because it does take a very different look at what the Force is, and it's very in Legends. It's very different than what even in Legends content. It kind of goes against what a lot of stuff in other books and comics were saying of how the Force works.
Okay.
A lot of it being like the balance stuff and how balance works, and that's where a lot of the problems lie, is where like explaining how it gets a little.
Oh, I see.
It leans a little too close to the gray Jedi ideology, and it's like that doesn't work when you put everything in. Even in Legends, it doesn't quite work. Because once again, we've talked about this. The dark side it's like a drug. You take the drug, and the more you do it, the more you get addicted to it. So there's really no way to dip into the dark side but still be a good guy. You're gonna fall. Even in Legends, that's like a big thing that happens so many times. The amount of times where a Jedi has said, "I'm gonna go undercover as a Sith," and then immediately becomes a Sith because what did you expect? Yeah, I know. I've invited so many comments by even saying the words, but like, yeah, like one of my favorite stories, Tales of the Jedi, which is also why I'm kind of frustrated that they took the name and turned it into something else. Although I like what that something else is, I don't like that that's what it's called. Ulick Keldroma says, "I'm gonna go undercover," and because I'm gonna find these people that are doing dark side stuff, and so going undercover as a dark side agent, what happens? Surprise, surprise! He becomes a dark sider, and then spoilers. For a story from the 90s, he kills his brother. So, and we see so many times where a Jedi says, "I'm gonna just dip my toe in. I'm dipping my toe in," and no, that's not how it works. Even in video game mechanics, which I think is where a lot of that idea comes from, because Knights of the Republic has like you can use both, and so does another well-loved series, the Jedi Knight series. You can use both, except even in those games, you have to make a decision at the end of the day. You cannot you can't stay in the middle. At the end of both of those franchises, you have to make a decision. Knights of the Republic 1, are you gonna go full Dark Lord of the Sith, or are you gonna be the Savior? Knights of the Republic 2, kind of are you gonna go full evil and do? It's a little bit more gray. Knights 2 is a little bit more on we try to go deeper, and I think once again people misunderstand a lot of the lessons in that, because everybody takes what Kreia says to heart, forgetting that she is a Sith.
I don't care. She's really a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, but everybody, and that's the part that frustrates me with 2, is everybody thinks they're all of a sudden a like grad school philosopher because they agree with Kreia, and it's like, you're missing the point if you agree with Kreia.
Like, me and you have talked about this before, about why we both disagree with Kreia, but it's for very different reasons.
Exactly. Kreia's just wrong about the Force, and Kreia's like, obviously, if I get rid of the Force, then all of our problems end. And it's like, no. The Force is connected to all life, and if you get rid of the Force, that's gonna cause even more chaos and unbalance. And so, now she's right about, there's maybe an argument for yes. And, like, she's identifying part of the problem, which is the ideology of the Jedi Masters. The Jedi Masters are up on this pedestal, thinking they are the end-all, be-all of how the Force works. And they have some of it right, but obviously, in the case of Mitra's situation, they don't quite understand Mitra's situation entirely. And because of that, they view her as a monster and something to be eradicated and taken out of the situation. Now, whether that means just taking away her ability to use the Force or actually killing her depends on what you do during the game as Mitra. But, like...
You reminded me of a plot point from the first game, which is the start of my Jedi hatred.
Is it the Revan's memory?
Yeah, it's the memory thing where I am.
So once again,
that.
Once again though, that is not the fault of the Masters. That is a situation of he already had memory loss because of Malik blowing up his ship. Now, can you get mad that they only replace certain memories to help heal his brain slightly? Yeah, but they didn't remove any memories. They just didn't give him back all of his memories. But also, healing a brain is complicated. So I would think even if they were trying to heal his brain properly, he's not going to have everything back.
Maybe I misinterpreted it, but I'm also still pissed about it.
Like
More Jedi need to be pistol whipped, in my opinion.
Like, you can be mad about,
it's just every once in a while, maybe one of them should get slapped for saying something, ridiculous.
Now, I think the real irresponsibility in Knights 1 is putting Bastila in charge. I love Bastila, but she is still young and a knight at this point. She's a knight at this point. She is still young, and they go, yeah, we'll put you with one of the most powerful threats we've seen in the last 10 years outside of Exar Kun. 10 years, yeah, because 40 would be Exar Kun. So within the last 10 years, and nothing should go wrong.
This is fine.
What did you expect? What did you expect? Of course she turned to the dark side for a little bit. You sent her on a mission expecting her not to fail in a very difficult situation for a knight with no mentor in that relationship to guide her at all. And I understand taking a big master. I understand the secrecy of the nature of that mission has to be. We have gone way off the plot,
we're
but
slightly off topic. But I think we basically had finished up with a short.
Yeah,
story.
it's a fun conversation,
so now
anyways.
We can go, yeah.
But yes, the nature of that is that it has to be a secret plan. You can't be found by Malik. But also, it's kind of dumb that you then send the one guy.
That's true. We are speaking with hindsight.
We are speaking with hindsight. You are right. But also, even without hindsight, it's dumb to send Revan on that mission. Because it's we must be secret. We must make sure nobody knows that we're after the star maps. Let's send the one guy that Malik would recognize.
Talk about how it's kind of fucked up that the Starforge runs on Force.
Yeah, the Starforge runs off Force, yeah. Which is, that's the whole thing with a lot of Rakatan technology. It runs off the dark side of the Force, generally speaking, in a lot of the stuff we see. And so, in the case of the Starforge, it runs off that dark side energy, which then transmutes to being able to have just unlimited machinery and a weapons factory, because that's really what the Starforge is at the end of the day. It's a weapons factory, because throughout the video game you see Malik going, how much faster is this thing going? And I think by the end of the game they say it's going at 200% capacity.
Damn.
Yeah, but also by that point Malik has taken some initiative in getting the Starforge to run faster, such as, kidnapping a bunch of Jedi and putting them into the Starforge and basically hooking them in like batteries.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I said the Starforge basically run.
But it doesn't run that way usually. It's usually just off the general force that's around it, and I think it does suck some of it from the I'm trying to remember the name of the planet because it's been a minute. But the unknown world. Yeah. I know it begins with an L. Why is it I can remember that, but I can't remember the name of the planet itself? Mm-hmm. But, anyways,
play the game again, Caleb.
I'm playing too many games right now. I can't play Knights 1 again. I love it, but I can't play it right now. I still haven't done Knights 2 for the Twitch stream. I've done Knights 1 for the Twitch stream, but I haven't done Knights 2. Knights 1 I heavily modded though, because I added some fun mods.
Long story short, I disagree with Claire's philosophy because she's old and a bitch.
Yeah, yours is more of, I think she's just being rude. Mine is, I disagree.
I think she's rude, and I disagree. She's like, you shouldn't go around helping people because then they won't learn. My answer to that is, you're not giving them any help at all,
Leon,
which makes
thank you.
you a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm like, I might not directly interfere, but I'll at least give this man like 50 credits and a blaster to solve his own goddamn problems.
Yeah. Although Krayer might say, oh, well, now he's going to go around shooting people.
So what? You don't care. It's not our problem anymore.
Because by Krayer's philosophy, oh, now he's going to go be a serial killer. Like, that's Krayer's philosophy.
Yeah. I'm like, no, just go get your wife back. That's it. Either go and pay them to give you your wife back, or kill all of them and get your wife back anyway.
Yeah. So, like, Krayer's philosophy is very much looking at the most, like...
What is the most insane interpretation?
Or, like, what's the most, like...
What is the worst possible
worst case scenario. She definitely is a worst case scenario thinker. To be fair, she also was betrayed by two of her... I mean, but also she was following the Sith. What do you expect? You're following the Sith. Of course people are going to betray you.
She did get her ass beat pretty hard.
Yeah, Scion gave her some gut punches, literally. Nihilus kind of just stood there and watched. Very Nihilus. Nihilus is just kind of there. Grumbling and speaking, and none of us able to understand him.
That man was very upset.
But yeah, I think maybe I've thought about what... Because I'm already thinking of next season.
Yeah.
Because I know we've made this show specifically about canon, but we love talking Legends. And I think we made the exception last year because I said, oh, it's new content, so we can talk about the Old Republic expansion.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to do some more Legends content. And so we might do not this season, because I think this season we've already scheduled out pretty well. But next season, I'm thinking we'll do some Legends content that, like, we might... we absolutely have to, at the very least, talk about the Knights of the Old Republic comics. My favorite character is in it. I think Zane Carrick is one of the epitome of what a Jedi should be.
Mm-hmm. See, I know that's genuine for you. Much like for me... I can't say it with the stream.
No, yeah, I'm being genuine. I gave a smirk about it, but I am genuine. I love Zane Carrick that much. I think it's kind of funny because it very much leans into your reasons to dislike Jedi so much or at least Jedi Masters so much, because it definitely leans literally within the same few, like, 3 to 5 year space. We had 2 Jedi Padawans who were framed for a very awful crime and then chased out of the order, wanted, and then eventually found innocent, and then offered a chance to join up again, and given the knight rank, and both of them turned it down.
So let me get this.
Now, of course, it's not within the same 5-year span in universe. 5-year span out of universe, like, so in real world time.
Just the, like, explanation of that is, like, so let me get this straight. You threw me out of my house and home, basically caused me to become a wanted criminal, and now that everything is all said and done...
Once again, we are speaking on hindsight. This is very much we are talking on hindsight.
Yeah, but, like, from character perspective, like, for why to turn it down. And then I clear my own name, because fuck you, you didn't help. You offer me a promotion?
I feel like Zane's...
Fuck you!
And honestly, I feel like Zane's... While Ahsoka's situation is bad, I think Zane's is worse.
Fuck you.
Because while Ahsoka, I feel like it is a terrible betrayal that it was her best friend.
Yeah.
Zane's was his master.
Fuck you, not
that's
Dad.
And while Zane gets a relationship with his actual parents eventually, because this is a time when parents and Jedi aren't as separated from each other. Like, you can still kind of come into contact every now and then. It's just kind of one of those things where it's frowned upon, but it's not, like, restricted. But no, yeah, because, like, Zane's master comes up with the brilliant idea of, Yeah, Satil Shan is definitely up there for me. Satil Shan is up there. I think Zane. The reason I love Zane is because he, at the end of the day, he screws up so much, but he still wants to do what's right, and he also like genuinely has to learn to use his force abilities in a creative manner because of his, as he calls it, disability in the force. Because things don't always go exactly as planned when he uses the force. It's very much I'm going to use the force to do something, and then Uno reverse.
Shit didn't work the way I hoped it would.
A prime example of this is in Volume 2, which I have the big book, so I don't have the separate volumes. But I used to. In Volume 2, though, so the Mandalorian Wars is going on.
Okay.
So the comic takes place before the video game, so it's during the war. It's both the lead up and the actual war. But like, so he and his friends, they are already on the run, and he does this thing where he has one of his friends pretend to be a Jedi, one of the masters that actually did the killings of his friends, has her pretend to be that Jedi, and send a message to this mining colony. Hey, you got to get out of here. The Mandalorians are coming. And this is like a big lie, obviously. Mm-hmm. Like, this is just them making something up so that way they can do a supply run into this mining settlement, right?
Yeah.
And so they go, hey, you got to get out of here. They're coming. And they even fake like a little shake so that way it can seem like bombs are about like going off and stuff and blaster fire in a battle. So they run. They go down. They're like, okay, cool. Let's go get some stuff. No, the Mandalorians actually show up for real. Like, within, like, the next 5 minutes of them, like I said, they use the Force to do something, Uno reverse. And on top of that, the friend who is pretending to be a Jedi gets then kidnapped by the Mandalorians who think she actually is a Jedi because she still has Zane's lightsaber at the time.
Oh, fuck.
And this is actually her second time pretending to be a Jedi. And it's even worse. Because before she got kidnapped, she was like, man, I've been pretending to be a Jedi twice now. The Force must be really mad about me doing that.
You fucking poked the bear. That's what happened.
And then one of the worst Mandalorians ever gets introduced into the comic series. Because that's when Demigol gets introduced. Where even the Mandalorians hate Demigol. Even the Mandalorians are like, yeah, the guy who experiments on Jedi to try to recreate the Force amongst Mandalorians, fuck that guy.
Fuck you, we don't do that.
Yeah, we don't rely on the Force. That's a cheap parlor trick.
Yep.
Whereas Demigol's like, but we could be more powerful. And
Who
they're like,
gives a fuck?
We don't care about that, we're warriors.
Fuck that, 1v1 me. Said the Mandalorians.
Essentially.
That's everything about Mandalorians is fuck that, we'll do it our way.
Although I think they hate his apprentice even more.
Oh yeah?
Because he has an apprentice who's like, so Demigol is trying to recreate the Force through biology.
Yeah.
His apprentice says, I'm going to do it through finding Force artifacts, and also that's how the Rakatan plague spreads even more, because that idiot found the mirror talisman, which is how or not the Rakatan, sorry, the Rakul plague, and yeah, the mirror talisman is how the Rakuls started, and so that he found that, and
fuck that guy,
because it's supposed to let you control the Rakuls. Doesn't quite work if you're not Force sensitive.
Well.
Or Force using. Once again, we have to, because I'm trying to change terminology here, because everybody is technically Force sensitive. Everybody is technically Force sensitive if you really want to get down to it on a fundamental level.
Technicality.
Now, Force capable and Force using, that's a different conversation. But, yeah. Anyways, that was our big Legends tangent. I guess Rakatans cause that. So they find the Rakatan armor, and they, back to the main story.
Yep.
So Josh and Pika find the Rakatan armor. and they think, oh, it's like
Yeah.
nothing important about it. It's dead. It's long dead.
Only to get fucking jump scared
By the Nihil, yeah.
By the Nihil.
And that's where we ended, is they get captured by the Nihil.
They were basically about to start pulling up panels and, like, taking shit, and the Nihil are like, I don't think you should do that. And they're like, why not? And they're like, we'll explain it to you in the next chapter.
So, I like this stuff. Like I said, I love the short stories. I love going outside of just the main content and seeing more of the stuff, because that's how we get stuff like the Knights of the Republic comic. We get stuff of like, oh, let's go explore this side of the story, and let's go see what happens here. And I think sometimes the even better content comes from that sometimes. Now, is this necessary reading? At the moment, not yet. It's the same thing with a lot of the High Republic stuff, where you can just pick and choose.
You don't need to read it.
Yeah,
it helps, but you don't need to. It's not required.
It's similar to our conversation about the manga stuff with Edge of Balance. Like, you're missing out if you're not checking it out, because it's really good content. But do you have to read it to know what's going on? No. But you're missing out because it's good content. But that's it for this week. I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
I love doing this show. And I'm grateful for our fans, and I'm grateful for what we do. We get to do this every week because it's just fun. But yeah, so thank you all. Oh, I forgot to mention, because we were talking about what we've been up to this week.
Oh yeah.
And I guess I can mention it now.
Yeah.
We already almost met the YouTube subscriber goal for this year. Within a month. Because I wanted to double, because last year the goal was to double, and we went from 200 to 400. This year was to double again, go from 400 to 800. Now, I had heard that once you hit 500, getting subscribers is a little bit easier, because once you get past that hurdle, that's a big hurdle to get past, and from there it's kind of easier to get traction. Did not know it would get to that level, to the point where we got the 500 overnight at one point, and I went into our Discord and was like, we should do a live stream where we do like we did with 100, where we did a celebration of getting 100. And I was like, we've hit 500, that's a big milestone, let's do a celebration. We didn't do it because, like, one, I couldn't quite wrangle everybody up, but also two, by the time I could, we'd already hit 789. And so I feel like, and that's like within a week.
Ooh, yeah.
And so I felt like, well, no point talking, no point doing a stream for that now, because like that now that's old news. So now that's changed my goal for the year entirely, and I think it's actually feasible, because people had joked that my goal should be 1K even before people were like, yeah, just go for 1K instead of the 800.
Yeah.
Now I think that's feasible. I think that is the goal. I think that's the goal this year, but I might shoot higher. Because this year's been doing really well for the YouTube side. TikTok's also been gaining traction. Not as much, but it's gaining traction. Twitch and Kick are a little bit less traction. Facebook is plenty of traction. Facebook is easy, though. Facebook's easy traction a lot, I've noticed. So I think if we keep kind of gaining traction and we get support and we keep the numbers up, I want to do more stuff outside of the gaming and outside of the podcast.
Like, I remember me and you at one point, we were discussing, I was like, you know what would be great? Just doing a bunch of like little horror shorts.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to doing short films, because if you go back in the catalog for the channel, there's a lot of short films. A lot of them are my college short films. But, like, they are stuff that I care about deeply still. I want to explore more of those films, because I have more stories to tell regarding those films.
The Antonio Saga is great. You should check it out.
I want to remake it.
It's a little confusing at times,
I want to remake it.
But it's
good. I want to remake a lot of that stuff, not because I think it's bad, but because I think there's more potential to them. And I think as a creative, if you don't look back on your stuff and go, there's something I can change to, like, get more potential out of something, then you're not looking at your stuff as much like in a way that you probably could be. I'm not saying you're wrong for looking at stuff and going, oh, it's perfect, but I do think that it's healthy to look back at something and go, I can improve that. And so that's what I would want to do. And then of course other goals for the year that I've discussed, I want to do an audiobook because I have 3 books. None of them are on audio format. I want to do an audiobook. I want to do a comic book so badly. We're working on more short stories in the universe because you and I have been working together on some stuff. We've kind of kept it secret, but yeah, like we've kind of kept it secret, but it's like the worst kept secret ever.
Yeah, I've slowed down. I'm in the middle of like writing. I think I'm on number 4.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to actually
sit down
and finish up that one.
I feel that. I want to go ahead and write the Superworld sequel. Once again, in a similar situation, I need to force myself to sit down because
like I'm halfway through with it, but I'm also like, here are these like 3-4 plot threads. What the fuck am I gonna do? How do I get these in order so that they make sense?
And the other big thing I really want to force myself this year, the one that absolutely should happen this year, and I want everybody who's watching and you to hold me to this.
Okay.
Tabletop Super Universe coming out this year.
All right.
That had the core rulebook and the beginner adventure book this year. Hold me to that. Force me to sit down. It's more of a I need the art. Is what it's really coming down to. The rule set is written. The adventures are written. It's art. I have battle maps done. I did that last year, and now that I'm in communication with a consistent person to do character models, that's gonna be easier. I just have to keep the funding going for that. The hard part is funding. Should
we give an arachnophobia warning for that?
Oh, for Super Universe?
Yeah.
There's giant spiders.
Also spider people.
And not in... Oh, yeah, arachnosians are technically spider people. They're not like driders from D&D.
No, they're not.
It's more of they're humanoid in features, but with like the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The disturbing part about spiders most of the time is not...
It's the mandibles.
It's the mandibles and the multiple, like, eyes.
Yeah, they've got the multiple eyes thing going as well. Which the arachnosians can either be more spider-like or scorpion-like.
Yeah, depending on which one you want.
So you either can swing on webs, or you can hit people with your stinger. Yeah. So... But there is a playtest.
Yeah, there is. We've done it.
Which is the other part. Once again, the playtest is really old, reminding me of how long I've been working on this. Because, we did 2 actual story, arcs for the playtest.
I jump out a window.
Yeah, you jump out a window. No, we did 3. We did 3, because I wrote the 3, beginner we did all the beginner and... the one that's going to be in the core rulebooks. Although I've reworked some of the core rulebook one since then. Yeah, you jump out a window at one point. You were like, let me grab the main bad guy of this, and we're just going out the window.
Yep.
Oh. Which I actually have a map now for that location. I need to read
the windows boarded up now?
No. But it's more of because I have the battle map, so a grid, not a.
I see.
Not a full rendering.
Yeah.
I need to redesign some of the people that show up in that, like the bad guy from that adventure. I want to redesign some of the alien races and have that be creative. So yeah, once again, those are the things I have to do this year that I'm gonna
I'll hold you to it, much like getting that thing I sent you.
At the very least, hold me to the tabletop one. That is the one that I want for sure to happen this year. That is the one that and the audiobook. Those are the 2 that I feel I should be held to. The other ones are if they happen, they happen. But those are the 2 that I want to kind of for sure have happen this year. Because they're ones that have just been on the back burner for so long. Yeah. That's the problem with being a creative who also does stuff that's not Like, I do the Star Wars stuff and the video game stuff because it's fun and it catches attention. And if we're being honest, it's fun for me. And we talk about this all the time. If we didn't find this fun, we wouldn't do it.
We wouldn't do it if we didn't like it.
Yeah. I also really want to do a Highlander one still, a Highlander podcast. Nobody has taken the There Can Be Only One podcast. I am taking that. Such a good title.
Holy ground, Highlander.
I'm still taking that title. God. And also, like, it's even better because there's been news regarding the remake. There's been news. So we could talk about it. I could talk about it now.
Yeah.
It's my podcast. We're going to talk about it now. So for a long time, the key thing for the remake has been getting a director and a lead actor. And lead actors have swapped out for a while. At one point, Ryan Reynolds was going to be Connor. I don't know how I feel about that. I like Ryan, but as Connor McLeod, currently, so it is official. So the director is Chad, I forget his last name, the director of the John Wick films. Which I think is a great fit, and also continues my joke of John Wick is just Highlander. The fourth film also has Donnie Yen in both franchises. They both are...
John Wick 2 and Highlander 2, cinematic masterpieces. And I'll have no argument on it.
But then they have... So they finally announced that they are going to move forward with filming this year. That's the big news. And of course, Henry Cavill has been attached for a while now as Connor. We don't know who the Kurgan's going to be because there was talks that they were going to do the Kurgan again as the main villain.
Yeah.
I think at one point Dave Bautista was in discussion. Ramirez! It's even better with that timing with him after you said that Highlander 2 is because like when I hear Ramirez in that font, I hear specifically Highlander 2, Connor yelling Ramirez, and then Ramirez coming back to life because of that. Highlander, this is why we need the podcast. This is why we need the Highlander podcast so we can talk about these things because Highlander is so ridiculous as a franchise. Yeah. I love the first film. I love the TV show. I love the fourth film, which, but the fifth film and the second film are not my... Fifth film is honestly worse than the second film. Second film is very divisive because of all the stupid things they do in that film. Including the release cut, aliens, director's cut, from a further past explanation.
It's stupid, but it's fun stupid.
And also we talked about this last week. The henchman telling the bad guy, hey, don't do that thing, because that's going to make things worse for you. Bad guy does it, and then...
I'm sorry, is your name General Katana? No, I don't think it is.
Are you played by Lois Lane's dad, General Lane from Smallville? No, I didn't think so.
You do what I tell you to.
Yeah, because it's General Lane from Smallville before Smallville. And then his name is General Katana.
It's not his rank, that's his name.
Well, his rank is General, but we don't know a first name.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of first names with some of these. Like, the Kurgan is the Kurgan.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Which is Mr. Krabs. Or Savage Press for the Star Wars. Or, I guess, also, Governor, from Rebels. And Ahsoka. The Governor of Lothal. But yeah, he's played in so many, and also I guess also the Deveronian and Mandalorian as well. He's everywhere in Star Wars. Literally, they hired him for Clone Wars, and he was like, "I'm doing it for my kids." And then like after that, he's been in like so many Star Wars projects. Yeah. But anyways, I think Dave Bautista would have been if they keep Dave Bautista as Kurgan. I think that's great. That is great casting. Yeah. I also like the Highlander anime. There's a Highlander anime.
There is. And it's made by Madhouse.
Yeah, it's made by Madhouse because it's made by...
I know who Madhouse is because they did the Devil May Cry. They did Hellsing Ultimate.
Ninja Scrolls.
Ninja Scrolls.
They also did the Final Fantasy...
Basically, if you need something kind of bloody and monstrous, go to Madhouse.
Yeah. They also did the Final Fantasy VII Last Order OVA.
I'm trying to remember if they did Trigun as well.
And so, like,
I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise
me.
I
think that Highlander anime is great. It is very disconnected from the rest of the franchise. Yeah. I think it's smart though. It works out in its favor that it's disconnected. Like, they keep I think Highlander is. Yeah, it's Clancy Brown. Yeah, Ryder Azadi, and that was the name of the Governor Azadi. But yeah, they keep a lot of the theme. I think Highlander, similar to Final Fantasy, when it comes to I think with film adaptations for Final Fantasy, I think they understand the themes, even if people disagree that the films are good or not. Like Spirits Within, I think Spirits Within is fine. It fits a lot of the themes of Final Fantasy. I think it's about themes. It's not about characters. But Highlander has a lot of themes, such as
namely, fuck being alive forever. This is a horrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that Who Wants to Live Forever is like the main sad song in that franchise. Although I still have complaints about it, some of its use in Highlander 1. Specifically that it's used for the death of his first wife and then used for a sex scene. You've seen Highlander 1.
I know, yeah.
You know this happens.
I know this happens. I'm also reminded of the crime alley sex in 2.
Oh, in 2, yeah.
Yeah.
2 is very much like, let's get it out of the way.
Yeah. Speed run the...
We know that this is going to happen, so let's do it now. Yeah. We made Connor McLeod hot again. Because he was an old man, but then the quickening made him hot again.
The best part about, like...
This is
another funny moment from Highlander 2, because I fucking love that movie. The, like, Katana shows up to the business meeting and they're just like, kill him.
With,
and how it doesn't work.
I'm trying to remember his name now.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actor's name. But Scrubs. It's,
evil corporate
Dr.
guy.
Cox. Dr. Cox from Scrubs.
Yeah.
He's the evil corporate guy, because 2 is, not only is it let's explain where immortals come from film, it's also a film in the 90s, so it's very much an environmentalist film as well. And so it's what happens if the ozone layer just disappeared because of all the toxic waste that we keep using, and what if we put a shield up in its place, and then it turns out over time, the ozone layer heals because we stop filling the air with toxic chemicals because we had this shield.
Yep.
But then of course it's also because it's also still the 90s, and it has to be corporate evil. So the corporation who built the shield is also trying to keep the shield up, knowing that the ozone layer is cleared. But because they somehow profit, I don't know how that works. I don't know how they make money off of this. I feel like you would lose money, honestly, from just constantly running a shield over the entire planet. I don't know how that
worked out.
Yeah. Somehow they're making money. Maybe it's a tax write-off sort of situation.
Stop pollution as a tax write-off.
I don't know how it works,
yeah.
But they're making money. So and Connor is also part of the reason that shield was made.
Yeah.
And so he feels responsible for it existing. But yeah, 2 is, I think, my favorite thing to talk about 2. The thing that I always talk about before introducing 2 and going hey, so 1 was crazy because 1 is it's a modern high fantasy film with sword and sorcery stuff going on. It's definitely a product of its time. It's 86, very 80s. One of the best soundtracks though, because it's Queen for the entire soundtrack.
Yeah.
I'm still upset that we'll never get a full version of Freddie Mercury singing New York, New York, by the way. Because there's a partial of him doing that in the first film. But then there's rumors of whether or not he did a full version, or if he only did the small bit for the film, or if he did the full version like they do for the rest of the songs for that film. Because they wrote an entire album just for that film, similar to Flash Gordon. And so it's very much a product of its time, and so I'm 2 is also a product of its time, but it's even weirder. And so in order to introduce how weird that is, I always go, there is a scene where Sean Connery is as Ramirez has to prevent a ceiling fan that is slowly falling over them in a trap, like they're in a trap dungeon type situation where there's a fan, and it's slowly coming down to chop them. And Ramirez decides, in order to save everybody else, he's gonna sacrifice himself by somehow using immortal magic to hold the fan up long enough for the others to escape, while Amazing Grace on the bagpipes is playing.
That's the thing that happens in that movie.
No, but like out of context, it makes no sense, and it still makes no sense even with context. Because they decide immortal magic does so many things in the second film.
What does immortal magic do?
Whatever
we say it does.
Yeah, immortal magic.
Whatever the plot says it does.
Immortal magic
is what we say it does.
Yeah, immortal magic says it can make you young again,
Mm-hmm.
even though you've already were the winner of the prize. But of course, other immortals all of a sudden magically show up, and you do a quickening, and now you're young again and hot, because we got to have young 80s to 90s, Christopher Lambert. Yeah, Lambert. He's French, so it's Lambert.
Yeah, but I'm American. That's my counter
argument.
Again, I'm not sure I want to argue with Raiden.
Yeah, don't argue with Raiden. Yeah, Raiden.
Not Raiden.
Yeah, Raiden.
Raiden's a different character.
Don't argue with the...
Although it's spelled the same.
Don't argue with the God of Lightning.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with the God of Thunder.
Yeah, Thunder and Lightning. Yeah, because... complicated.
It's one of those things where in fiction, thunder is often equated with lightning as well.
And so and then it also can bring people back to life.
Yep. That
died.
Yep.
Even though their soul should be in you at that point. Well, at least it is in Connor's situation. His soul, Ramirez's soul is in him because of how quickenings work.
Mm-hmm.
But now, actually, no, it's gone. It shouldn't be in anybody because of how Highlander 1 ends.
Mm-hmm.
And that Highlander 2 is a direct continuation of that. Well, direct. It takes it's in the future of 2018, 2019 or something like that. Which for the 90s, yeah, that's the future. And then it also just lets you hold things up through the Force looking thing, except it has a little sparkle to it.
There's a movie I want to show you, but I don't have the money to rent it right now.
What is it?
We need to watch The Crawl, because that was a movie I watched a lot as a child.
Yeah.
And it will probably explain a lot about how, I run tabletop games. Because they don't explain anything in that movie.
I think, though,
they explain, 5 things, and they're like, this is what you need to know, go.
I think if we do a Highlander podcast, it needs to be pre-recorded. I can't do 2 live podcasts.
Oh, God.
Plus, if we do pre-recorded, we can do more stuff. Because I do want to go over the books and comics that also exist in the Highlander universe. Because I want to go over everything. Even the spin-off TV show where they take one of the characters that we've met, because we've watched some of the show together. You've met this character, Amanda. She gets a spin-off show called The Raven, where it's a buddy cop show where she's working with a cop. And all of the killers are usually immortals that they have to face.
Fucking Seacouver, please.
Yeah, well, it's not Seacouver. They go somewhere else.
Oh, God. The town's had enough.
Yeah, that town... Well, Seacouver and Paris get dealt with a lot of... And Seacouver's a fictional place. So because Highlander, the show, is filmed in Vancouver, because a lot of shows in the 90s were filmed in Vancouver. Even today, a lot of shows are. Because it's cheap. They decided to... Yeah, Duncan's great. Duncan is a great immortal. I like
Richie.
Yeah, you get Richie's name wrong all the time.
Richie?
It started off as a joke. It started off serious.
Ricky.
It started off serious. Then it became a joke, and now I'm not sure if it's serious again.
I'm not sure either. I think his name is Richie.
It's Richie.
Okay.
And
Duncan,
so we got
talking to Richie. Look, man, I know they're hot, but don't.
Yeah, it's I know the immortal women that I hang out with all the time look fantastic, but they'll try to kill you.
So stop.
Oh, the Joan Jett episode.
Yeah.
Because that show,
that has
the first season, the first season we joked about it because I was looking up information because we were planning this podcast while watching it. And I was looking up stuff, and it's the first season has so many musicians that show up as the bad guy.
that was one of the drinking game rules.
Yeah.
If the guest star is a musician, you have to take a drink.
We have the drinking game rules in the Discord still.
Yeah.
So, like, if yeah, we don't have to read them all right now. We're already starting to run past time. This was
admittedly,
yeah.
I was like, how many fucking people are dead? Like, oh, anytime, like, Duncan or Richie are involved with the police is, like, another drink. Because it's like, we know you're involved. But
yeah. And then 3 makes it so 3 you haven't watched 3 yet. But because we're watching in chronological order. So except for 2. 2 we watched. 2 was a weird situation. We decided to watch 2 anyways because it doesn't fit anywhere in the timeline.
So it was one of those ones where we're like, just fucking go for it.
But 3 makes it even weirder because 3 explains that he actually does go to Japan as part of his training and is taught magic.
Okay.
And, like, rebuilds... I think he reforges his katana there, if I remember. 3's... It's been a minute since I watched 3. 3's one that's harder to find. 3 is actually harder to find than 2. And 2 should be the one that I think should be hard to find. But 3 is, like... Because it's a well-known act... Because they, like, pull, like... Let me make sure I get everything right on that. Also, it has 2 names, because it does we got the European name and then we got the American name.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's called Highlander 3 the Sorcerer. But then I guess they thought, oh, the Americans won't get that. So we're going to call it the Final Dimension, even though there's nothing to do with dimensions in Highlander 3.
Americans won't get that. Yeah. If you fucking give it an entirely different name.
Yeah, so Mako is the guy, yeah, classic, like, one of the well-known actors in that during the 90s. Like, he is the guy that trains him, and it's just like, that just makes things even more complicated when it comes to that topic. And on top of that, it's even worse, because it's not even Connor's sword at the start. It's Ramirez's, and he's not Scottish. He's not even Spanish, even though he's like in the flashbacks he's supposed to be. He explains that I'm not even Spanish. I'm actually Egyptian. The Scottish guy who looks exactly like what an Egyptian would look like.
Mm-hmm. You lied to me, says Connor. Yeah, I fucking did. What are you gonna do about it?
So it becomes very much,
another moment of Ramirez fucking lying.
Yeah. Ramirez is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of...
Yeah. Obi-Wan and Ramirez, liars.
we love both of them, but they are liars. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, I mean, the obvious joke that everybody makes about Highlander. It's about a Scottish guy played by a Frenchman, a Russian played by a guy from Cleveland, Ohio, and a Spanish Egyptian played by a guy from Scotland.
Yep. That's a thing that happened.
Yep.
It's a very fun movie.
Yeah. I love the franchise. It takes a lot of twists and turns. It's ridiculous, but it's... I don't know if... yeah. I mean... I don't want... Okay. It's a... I don't... The reason I wouldn't want The Rock anywhere near it is because he's become very toxic in the films he's a part of, because it becomes about him. Because he's The Rock. Yep. He's Dwayne Johnson. He's a big superstar. The films have to be about him, even if it doesn't make sense that he's the center of the stage. It's why I personally wasn't a fan of Black Adam, because they changed a lot of the characteristics so that way it could fit The Rock's like PR and like vision of like how he's viewed. It also wasted the Justice Society. Like, so many good characters that are like, oh, it could be cool to have this character connected to Black Adam, but then they don't. Even though it would logically make sense.
The funniest bit about that movie is, admittedly, The Rock struggling with the Black Adam struggling with one-liners. That's the best part.
That's
of that
actually
movie.
a good bit.
Yeah. Because he keeps fucking it up until, like, the last 3 minutes.
But yeah, I mean, if anything, I'm just a big old nerd. I love everything. I love Star Wars. I love Highlander. I love Marvel. I love DC to an extent. I mean, so many books, comics, and movies and video games over here. And that's not even all. I have more in my room.
Mm-hmm.
It's to the point where I need more shelf space.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love
anyway.
them too. My love has dimmed over the years, but it's still there.
Yeah. You're just not an MCU guy. You like Marvel. You just want to differentiate from the films a bit. But yeah. So, thank you all for watching and dealing with our.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us rant. For
like, and it's great having the interaction.
40 minutes.
It's great just talking about like stuff not Star Wars on our Star Wars podcast.
We do what we want.
Yeah, this is our only podcast, so we talk about whatever we feel like.
Yep.
But y'all put up with it, so we appreciate that. So thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can show your support for us by joining our Patreon at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Yo.
There you can watch our YouTube content before it's publicly available. For example, the Grim Hollow game we played last night. That's going to be posted today. It's already exported. I've already edited it. Just got to upload it to the Patreon. And so that'll be before anybody else gets to see it on YouTube. And that's only for $5 a month. You get access to our YouTube content. Currently, like, I've got stuff all the way to March already on there. I also plan to try to get even more D&D stuff on there. I've been posting. I've actually posted the concept art for those characters for the Acquisitions game on there. So if you play my game, maybe don't look at the stuff. I mean, you can still, if you want, you can subscribe. But I would suggest not. Well, there's no big spoilers. It's just designs and a little bit description about them. I try to avoid actual spoilers in the descriptions. But some of that art that I've commissioned is up there now. If you want to get a preview of stuff coming up for the Acquisitions game. I also plan to get some art for Grim Hollow done. So that's all going to be there. I'm going to post another piece of art today that I got today. You can also find me on Twitter at EscapeReality94 and on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Caleb.Lockwood. Go ahead and, speaking of D&D...
You can catch me and some friends of ours every Sunday over at the Steam Dungeon on YouTube from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time at Trials of Nebu. I don't know what the fuck happened last week because I got called into work.
Okay, so I guess it's a great time.
I think we're gonna fight an old lady who's probably a powerful cleric.
So if anything, y'all should watch the VOD, so that way y'all can tell Seth what happened in his own game.
What happened? I'm over here like, all right, guys, what happened? And they're like, we'll tell you next time. And I'm like, what do you mean you'll tell me next time?
Well, so once again, though, thank you all for watching. Join us next week as we will be doing a double feature for comic books. We'll be talking about the Darth Vader Black, White, and Red comic, as well as Hyperspace Stories Volume 2, Scum and Villainy.
Woo!
So, see y'all next time. I have spoken.
Later, be safe.
Tonight, finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to ain't a fixture.